PMC Bank, as it is popularly called, with the whistleblower's letter dated 17 September, and this whistleblower is a senior executive of this bank, and it being followed by a 5-page confession letter of Joy Thomas, the former MD of the bank. This confession letter is dated 21st of September. With these letters being given to the Reserve Bank of India, the entire scam is out in the open. And it's yet another disturbing one, which raises serious questions about the role of the regulator, which is the Reserve Bank of India, and also of the auditors who are appointed by the bank. With this particular episode, we have yet another scam, and it raises disturbing questions. Before this came out in the open, the PMC Bank was one respected cooperative bank. It is a multi-state cooperative bank with 140 branches in different states, and it was even aspiring to become a private sector bank. In fact, it ranks among the 10 largest cooperative banks of the country, and thus all those who dealt with it were unsuspecting, gullible people who got hoodwinked by this bank. It was actually a bogus organization, if you ask us. And why do we say so? To realize that, let us look into the history of the bank. The bank was set up in 1984 with a paid-up capital of merely 10 lakhs. In 1986 itself, it went bankrupt. That is the point of time when the Vadhwans, who are the promoters of HDIL, they bailed out the bank. The stakes were very low, but in the process of bailing out the bank in 1986, the Vadhwans of course started getting control of the bank. In 2004, there was a run on the deposits of the bank, and at that point of time, the Vadhwans bailed it out by giving it a line of credit, a deposit of 100 crores. That was important because by ensuring that the depositors were paid off, it only reinforced their faith in the bank and now started attracting them in large numbers. That was 2004. 2008 onwards, when the bank started giving huge loans to the HDIL, from that point of time, the bank started introducing dummy accounts in order to fudge its accounts, in order to hide its true financial position, and in order to continue giving loans to HDIL. That was 2008. In 2011, as against deposits of 2,000 crores with the bank, 1,026 crores were the loans given to HDIL. So more than 50% of the funds with the bank in 2011 were loans given to HDIL. In fact, at that point of time, the financial position of HDIL has started deteriorating. In fact, till then, the bank used to make handsome profits because of its transactions with HDIL. But then, from 2011, when things started deteriorating, is when the bank also started indulging in rampant manipulation of its financial statements. In 2015, HDIL was an NPA account in the books of PMC. It did not disclose it so, but the reality is, in 2015, the large loan that was given by the bank to HDIL was already a bad loan. And despite this, the bank continued giving loans to the HDIL group. And as recent as 31st August 2019, the bank gave a loan of 96 crores to HDIL. And during this period, the loans have been given to the company only to enable it to repay its loans to other banks. In other words, PMC Bank's monies were totally taken away by HDIL. In 2018, the Reserve Bank got an idea of what is happening. It wrote to the Register of Cooperative Societies Maharashtra asking it to sack Varyam Singh, the chairman of the bank, and its managing director Joy Thomas. That was 2018, last year. Nothing was done by the regulator, that is, the Register of Cooperative Societies here, thus showing the kind of deep political linkages that the HDIL group has in Maharashtra. And then comes 2019. By now, it was too difficult to conceal the state of affairs, and thus, on 17 September, a senior executive of the bank turned whistleblower, and he wrote a letter to the RBI stating all the wrong that was done. Perhaps compelled by this letter of the whistleblower, on 21st of September, the managing director of the bank, Mr. Joy Thomas, he wrote a 5-page confession letter to the Reserve Bank stating all that was wrong. But by then, the entire financial position of the bank was actually shifted or given away by way of loans to HDIL Group according to us. Because as of today when we talk, out of loans of 8,880 crores that have been given by the bank, 73%, which is 6,500 crores, are the loans given to the HDIL Group. And interestingly, there is also a loan of 450 crores given by the bank to Varyam Singh. And of course, he has not paid it. So the entire money of the bank has been actually used by the HDIL Group like its own private personal cash box, if you ask us. And that explains why the bank has collapsed like a pack of cards. The question is, how was such a blatant fraud concealed for years? Because, as I pointed out, since 2008, the bank has been using dummy entities in order to conceal its actual state of affairs and hoodwink the auditors and the regulators, who were not just negligent. For all you know, they were also willing to be hoodwinked. We yet don't know, but the fact is, they were negligent. So what was the modus operandi? It was not a sophisticated one. In fact, it could have been detected if these two bodies, which is the auditors and the regulators, which is the RBI inspectors, were diligent enough, if they were working with the amount of due diligence or care and caution which is expected of them. The fact is, they did not. So what was done? The bank continued giving loans to HDIL. It gave loans to it under bogus names, under bogus entities. It also gave loans under different project heads, such that you could never come to know the total amount of loans that were given to the HDIL Group. And for doing that, Joy Thomas formed a team of 6 senior executives. They were involved in manipulating the books of accounts of PMC Bank. What did they do? They gave loans in bogus names which had no linkage to HDIL. They gave loans which were not even recorded in the books of accounts. They ensured that the financial statements or the books of accounts of PMC Bank were not even computerized. They were manual, such that you couldn't come to know the total picture of the bank. They also gave loans under the names of different entities only to enable HDIL to continue to green the loans, such that for quite some time, even though it was an NPA, it was shown to be not an NPA. So there was an all-round manipulation of the books of accounts by a team of 6 executives set up by Joy Thomas, and of course, it was in the know of the board of directors of the bank, particularly Varyam Singh. This gentleman, Varyam Singh, has been a key man in this entire fraud, in this entire crime. He has been a promoter of HDIL of sorts, and he has also been a director of HDIL for over a decade. And this same man was also the chairman of the bank, and that explains the nexus between PMC Bank and HDIL and how 6,500 crores of loans were given away so easily. The Reserve Bank of India, interestingly, never insisted and compelled the bank to computerize its books of accounts in order to find out the real state of affairs. The bank very easily managed to hoodwink Reserve Bank of India through its dummy books of accounts and dummy accounts that were there, and it did not bother to check up. So we are talking about a situation where auditors and regulators, which is the Reserve Bank of India here, were certainly negligent. As I said, they were not hoodwinked by PMC Bank because of some sophisticated fraud or scam. It was done in a very elementary manner, and they continued to be hoodwinked for years together, such that today over 11,000 crores of public deposits at stake, and we need to see what is the bailout that will be given to the bank finally by the Reserve Bank of India. This entire scam again raises questions on the quality of inspection and audit done by the RBI and the auditors. If you look at RBI as a regulator, it is in charge of regulating primarily 4 entities according to us: public sector banks, private sector banks, NBFCs and cooperative banks. And here are some giant failures that have been found out in all these sectors wherein RBI was the inspector and the regulator. The Nirav Modi scam in PNB. It went undetected by RBI for at least 10 years according to us. ILFS was a giant scam of over 1,30,000 crores. It was perpetrated for over 12 years. The Reserve Bank was not able to find it out, even though it was a huge NBFC, inspected, governed and regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. Then comes private sector banks like Yes Bank, majorly manipulated financial statements, and Reserve Bank never found it out. And now we come to a cooperative bank like PMC Bank, rated to be among the top 10 largest cooperative banks of the country, and its state of affairs were being falsely shown. They were concealed since 2008 in particular. And that is the story of PMC Bank, and that is the story of the kind of regulation that has been going on. The reality today is we really do not know which will be the next bank, which will be the next NBFC, which could be the next PSB or the private sector bank, which would be having these kind of scams concealed, because we are seeing them rampantly across the board. And this is where the Reserve Bank of India, which has been respected as a regulator, needs to do its thinking. How is it that we have a PNB case happening, public sector banks happening, wherein NPAs were concealed for years, an ICICI happening, a Yes Bank happening, a DHFL and ILFS, now a PMC Bank, with such predictable regularity? We need to realize that those who are supposed to keep a watch, which is Reserve Bank of India and auditors, have truly failed the public. Until that is not cured, expect more such failures. This is Akhilesh Bhargav signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.